to the entertainment Talking Sports.
What is going on, football fans? Back at it with another New York Giants video, and this will be my final 7-round mock draft for the New York Giants as voted on by several of my subscribers. The NFL draft is almost here. It's in 2 days, and I tried to do something that I could see happening. Now, I definitely could have the New York Giants staying at 4, and if I was going to have them stay at 4, which may very well be the case, I very well may have went Isaiah Simmons. I could honestly tell you, I'm hearing conflicting reports on both ends. You know, I've heard from Kim Jones, I've heard from Vacchiano that they're probably going tackle. I've heard from several people that they're going tackle, and then I hear from other people that they're going Isaiah Simmons. I read some of the quotes that lead on to that it could be Isaiah Simmons, and I read some of the quotes that make me believe it could be a tackle. At the end of the day, the New York Giants, Joe Judge and Dave Gettleman, they've done a terrific job of keeping us all blinded as to what they will do in the first round. But one thing I think is for certain, at least in my opinion, that the Giants' preference is to trade down. They've been outspoken this entire process that they want to look to trade down. Whether or not it'll happen on draft night remains to be seen. I've also read rumors that they'd be open to trading down in the second. Do I think they would do both? No. I think their first preference is to trade down in the first. I really do believe that the Giants want to take a tackle. But at 4, if they can't trade down, they may very well take Isaiah Simmons. That is going to be the question on draft night. And in this mock, I had the Giants finding a trade partner. I looked around, of all the potential teams. I don't think Miami's going to be a team that we're going to be able to trade down with. I said that in my video today with Douglas Durong. They maybe will be the case, but I honestly don't see them trading up for the quarterback. I do see the Chargers as a possibility, and I see the Jaguars as a possibility. The reason I see the Jaguars as a possibility has less to do with the fact that I think they're desperate for a quarterback, but more to do with the fact that they're desperate to get as much as they possibly can for Yannick Ngakoue. Now, will this happen? I don't know. Do I think it's possible? Yes. This is a projection. This is something that I think could definitely happen on draft night. I'd probably label it maybe a 25-30% chance, but I do think Yannick Ngakoue will be traded sooner than later, and I think on draft night would be the time for the Jaguars to do it. Now, there may be a trade in place for all we know. We don't know with the Giants and the Jaguars, or with the Jaguars and somebody else, but the Jaguars want to see who is going to be available at that pick. The Jacksonville Jaguars have lost a lot on their defense, specifically the cornerback position, which leads me to believe if Jeff Okudah was there, there's a good chance they'd be willing to trade up for 4, and the Giants would actually get more draft capital than just the 9th pick and Yannick Ngakoue, being that the Giants would have to assume that contract. They'd also get, in my opinion, the 3rd-round pick of the Jaguars, and in this simulation, that's exactly what I'm going to do. I'm going to have the New York Giants trading down to 9, giving up pick number 4, acquiring Yannick Ngakoue, and getting the 73rd pick from the Jacksonville Jaguars and surrendering 2 7ths. Mainly because I didn't want to have to do 4 7th-round picks, but I figured I'd give a little something extra back to the Jacksonville Jaguars. So we'll have 2 7th-round picks, we'll have 2 3rd-round picks, and now we'll be picking at 9th. By getting the 3rd-round pick, it kind of gets back that pick that we lost in the trade for, when we acquired Leonard Williams. And if you talk to most people at this point in time, seeing as how desperate the Jaguars are, the Giants may very well get a 3rd-round pick. So let's jump right into it. Let's see what we did at number 9. Number 9, I was between 2 tackles, and I looked at the draft board, and I said to myself, I really believe that the Arizona Cardinals would view Tristan Wirfs as a better fit to their offense. The Giants may very well prefer Tristan Wirfs, and if the Giants are going tackle at 4, they may very well pick Tristan Wirfs. I have not decided yet. I honestly don't know. I think it's between 3 players at 4, and that's Simmons, Wirfs, and Wills. Wills, of course, has the connections to Joe Judge at Alabama, and a lot of people project him to be the best tackle in this year's class. Fundamentally sound, and if Wirfs is off the board and Simmons is off the board at 9, I think that Wills makes the most sense. And in this projection, that is what I have. I have the Giants dropping to 9 and getting who many feel is the best offensive tackle in this year's class with Jedrick Wills. I think only 1 tackle will be off the board at this point in time. I see the Arizona Cardinals taking 1 at 8, and in this sim, I have them taking Tristan Wirfs, which brings us to pick number 36. And before I get into 36, a lot of people are going to say, you should go center, you should go, somewhere else on defense. Keep in mind, we already got Yannick Ngakoue. We got our pass rusher, so I thought about that. I thought about Bond. I thought about Matos. Also, keep in mind that we now have the 73rd selection Okay, so we have 2 third-round picks, which is why I actually added a piece in the secondary. It gives us more versatility by adding a free safety in Antoine Winfield. Yes, he's a little bit undersized. He is undersized. He's about 5'10", but the guy is stocky. He is built. He's a ball hawk. He's the type of center fielder that I think the New York Giants defense could use in that secondary. So now you're adding a pass rusher with Yannick. You're adding your safety out of Minnesota with Antoine Winfield. Obviously has NFL pedigree. It would allow Julian Love to be more versatile, which is what this defense is all about. And I think it's one of our bigger needs on this football team. I think we could definitely use an extra piece in that secondary. That's exactly what you do here. It allows you to move your players around. Jabril Peppers as well. So at number 36, I have is going Antoine Winfield. Now we're picking at the top of the 3rd round after the trade with the Jaguars. And we're going to go and get the center, who I actually think the Giants could very well take at 36, and it would be a reach. I could definitely see them trying to trade down. If they didn't, if they weren't able to trade down in the first, I could see them trying to trade down into the mid-second. I've talked about that as well. I think Hennessy's going to go into the early 3rd round, which is where the Giants would be picking in this scenario. They would get the center that they covet. Hennessy grew up a New York Giants fan, went to Temple. The Giants have a desperate need at that position. I like Matt Hennessy a lot. I love that he wants to be a New York Giant. That's all you've heard this entire offseason. And he makes sense. It's a huge need for the Giants. I could have went Tyler Biadasz here. I've heard the Giants more connected to Hennessy, and he's gotten more buzz as the draft has gotten closer and closer. So I like Hennessy to the Giants here at the beginning of the 3rd. We could definitely get him at 99 if he's there. I don't know if he will be there, and I wouldn't be shocked if they take him at 36, like I said, even though most would view it as a reach. Next, I'm going to have at our 99th pick, which was originally our 3rd pick, and it was now our 4th after the trade. In this scenario, we've already got our edge rusher, we've got our free safety, we've got our center, we've got our tackle. I'm going to go and get the linebacker that we've been connected to. A lot of people like him out of Wyoming, and that is Logan Wilson. Logan Wilson out of Wyoming ran a 4.63 40 time. A good linebacker, better in coverage than people give him credit for. People seem to think he could struggle in man coverage. But he was known to be pretty strong in zone coverage at Wyoming. A very solid linebacker at the collegiate level, and another guy that is getting buzz to the New York Giants as the draft is getting closer and closer, and another guy that would fill one of our needs. So now you've addressed an edge rusher, you've addressed a free safety, you've addressed 2 pieces on the line, and you've gotten that extra linebacker. So that kind of frees up the ability to take a wide receiver a little earlier than I initially would have wanted to had we not had the ability to trade down. I've been on record as saying I want to take a wide receiver in the 5th. Well, if you wait to the 5th, a couple of guys may move off, and maybe this prospect gets to the 5th. The more research I've done on him, the more that I think he fits the mantra of what Joe Judge has preached. Joe Judge has basically said, we're not looking for prospects. I mean, obviously they would like prospects for both that have produced and have potential, but he's looking for guys with tremendous upside that could really hit their stride with proper coaching. Donovan Peoples-Jones out of Michigan, statistically, and in terms of production, has been disappointing. I think he only had about 600 yards. I think that was like his best year while at college. Guy is fast. Guy is tall. He fills a need for the New York Giants. He's 6'2". He had a 44.5 vertical jump at the combine with a 4.46 or a 4.48 40. I like the fit for the New York Giants. Now, I could have went with Antonio Gandy-Golden. I could have went with, I think Claypool's gone at this point in time. I could have went with Tyler Johnson. Tyler Johnson was a much more solid wide receiver at the collegiate level, but he lacks in the speed department. I think this guy is a better athlete, and I think that Joe Judge would be looking for the home run pick at the wide receiver. You could definitely go with a guy like Tyler Johnson. You could go with a number of wide receivers here, but I do think that Joe Judge has at least signaled that he's looking for upside. There's not many wide receivers later in this draft that have much more upside than Donovan Peoples-Jones out of Michigan. Next guy I want to talk about is a guy that I really like. I had him go in my 6th round in one of my 7-round mock drafts. I've talked about him time and time again, so there should be no surprise here. I think the Giants, if they want him, he may not even be there. We'll have to take him in the early 5th round out of North Dakota State. He's gotten a lot of buzz after the combine, went to a small school. That's why he was not projected to be even drafted before he really showed out at the combine. The guy's been consistent at the collegiate level. I think he had 10.5 sacks this year. I think he had right around 10 the year before that. Was a very good college player at a small school. Ran a sub 6'9" on the 3-cone drill, which is a very good test at the combine that they say usually measures whether somebody's going to be a productive pro at the edge rusher position. He fits our defense. He projects as a 3-4 outside linebacker. Derek Tuska is a guy I love. I think if the Giants want him, they will have to take him in the fifth round, and that's where I see him going in this mock draft. Next up, we've got a player that the Giants once again have interviewed, and that is Sean Bradley out of Temple. Sean Bradley projects to be an athletic linebacker, kind of a little different than Logan Wilson. He also projects to be a guy that a lot of people think could be very productive on special teams. Obviously, something that Joe Judge, loves. And maybe maybe that's all he'll be. Maybe he'll be more than that. Ryan Conley was a 5th-round pick last year that many people thought was just going to be a special teamer. He's a little bit undersized to be a linebacker, but he's known to be pretty solid in coverage, a strong athlete, had a strong combine. It's why he's moved up on some mocks. He's projected to go between rounds 5 and 7. Here I got the Giants getting him in the early 6th round out of Temple, Sean Bradley. So the Giants actually take 2 players from the University of Temple, him and Hennessy. Next up, we're going to get another player with some pedigree. We got Antoine Winfield at 36. We're going to get the son of John Runyon. Of course, New York Giants fans know all about John Runyon. Well, his son projects to be a guard at the NFL level. He was a tackle. Not looking for him to be a starter. It's a 7th-round pick. You're looking for some depth on that offensive line. A guy that, knows the ins and outs of the NFL. His dad played there. He brings depth. He brings that solid presence. I've had him mocked to the Giants in one of my mocks before. I like him a lot. You could certainly go with a lot of prospects here in the 7th round. At this point, you're throwing darts at a board. But I do think he fits for what the Giants may be looking for, an extra piece on that offensive line at the tail end of it. And I didn't bother to make another 7th-round pick, but probably a running back I would have taken with one of those extra 7th-round picks. Maybe a guy that could run between the tackles, something along those lines. But here we are. I mean, we filled some depth on the offensive line. We got our starting center. We got a tackle early on with Jedrick Wills, who many feel is the best tackle in this class. We got a free safety with Antoine Winfield. We got Logan Wilson. We got Donovan Peoples-Jones, Derek Tuska, Sean Bradley, and John Runyon. I'll post the names in the pinned comment, but that's the way I see it going, guys. Something along those lines if we were able to trade down. Like I said at the beginning of the video, if we're not able to trade down, your guess is as good as mine. Isaiah Simmons could definitely be the pick, as could the tackle, whether it's Wills or Wirfs. And we're not going to know until draft night. I think ideally most Giants fans want the Giants to trade out of the pick, especially if they're going offensive tackle, because you could still get value there at 8 or 9. Like I said, you could read whatever quote you want, and it's going to fit the agenda you're looking for it to fit. Period. End of story. Giants fans are divided as the draft approaches on whether or not we should go tackle or linebacker. But in the end, I think both fans should see the positives for either scenario. I'll be very happy if we end up with Isaiah Simmons. I'll be very happy if we end up with an offensive tackle to pave the way for Saquon Barkley and Daniel Jones. As always, guys, if you liked what you watched, please subscribe, drop a comment, maybe give me a little thumbs up. Cheers.